Today will be the first lesson in Master Kuo Lien Ying's Northern Shaolin Saber form, and we're going to learn the opening section, kind of the introduction section. One note about holding the saber, as we discussed in the last lesson. In the saber, use your finger along the grip and the thumb on top of the pommel to direct the direction of the blade. And this is important in the opening section because you're going to do opening like this, and you need to be sure to turn your blade this way, so you're not like cutting your wrist when you actually do the opening salutation. So as you go out, you're going to rotate the blade to about a little less than 90 degrees horizontal. So again, control the direction of your blade like this. In doing the form, we're going to use the same sequence as in the staff, where this will be 12 o'clock, and this will be 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. And so in the opening salutation, you're going in a 12 o'clock direction. And then most of the form goes between the length, which is 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. As I'm doing the lesson on the opening section, I'll do it first in the normal way that you would if you're viewing from straight on, but then I'll do it sideways so you can see both sides of what the hand and sword positions look like. Right off, you'll be able to see the similarities in the opening between the saber and the other Northern Shaolin sets. So let me do a couple of openings of the Shaolin. So the opening for the Tantui, you might be familiar if you watched the Tantui videos. And again, if you're learning the saber form, the Dao form, since the root is in the Shaolin, it would be good if you were actually coming from doing the Tantui and the Cha Chuan and some of the other northern forms before you learn the Dao. But since we're just presenting this as a way to preserve Sifu's legacies, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to learn just the Dao form. So if you're just doing that and you don't have a basis in his Northern Shaolin, you have to really work on the stances. And also, because it is a more advanced version of the Northern Shaolin, a lot of the stances are like deep falling stances. I think I'm going to have to show a modified version, because right off in the opening section, you'll see that you're going from a high crane stance right into the falling stance, which might be difficult for a lot of older practitioners. Their practitioners don't have roots in his Northern Shaolin. So in the opening of the Tantui, it looks like this. Opening a Cha Chuan looks like this. And the very first section of the sword opening looks like this. So you can see that there's that relationship between the openings. Let me do it sideways one time too. This is the Tantui. This is the second Northern Shaolin form, Cha Chuan. And this is the sword. So in the normal carrying position, the sword is vertical, relaxed by your side. You're controlling, again, the direction of the blade because you have the finger on the grip and thumb on the pommel, and you can rotate the sword like this. So in the opening, standing of attention, gathering your focus, empty your mind. And as in the Tantui and the Chatran, when you drop into the cat stance, we kind of call it the elevator drop because you kind of like just remove your stance and drop into it instead of just like lowering down. But if you're just kind of beginning, lowering down will be fine. So you're going to come up a little bit in front and then come back to this position here. And then shoot out. So in practicing these beginning moves, you can just do it without the footwork first, so you get accustomed to manipulating the sword in your hands. So come up, come out, come back, and then shoot out right over left, turn the sword 90 degrees, a little less than 90, so it's not cutting your wrist. And then as you swing back to the deckhand, the sword drops down straight. Okay, again, attention, come up, shoot out, and then deckhand comes back, sword hand drops straight down. Okay, I'll do it from the side here. The mats today. So from here, I'm going to go out a little bit, come back in, and shoot out. Sword drops straight down, and the right hand goes to the deckhand position. So now we do some footwork. So at the same time that you do your drop into the cat, you're going to come up into this position. So again, drop into your stance, and you can come up and back in. And then shoot out. One more time. Up. Come back in. Shoot out. I'll do it from the side. From here, drop into right leg is bent, left foot forward into the cat. So you come up with sword, drop down, and shoot out. Arms level, shoulder level. You sit as deep as you can into a comfortable cat stance. Okay, one more time. Present into underneath your arms, pits. Shoot out. At this point, when you come back into this position here, is when you begin to do the step. So it's 1, 2, 3. Okay. So arms come up, come back in, shoot out. Okay, get ready to step. As soon as this sword drops down to vertical, you can start stepping right about this point. 1, 2, 3. So when you end up, you'll be ending up in this position here. So I'll do it from the side, you can see. Focus, attention, empty your mind. Arms come up and come back. Shoot out, sword drops vertical. Right arm goes 45 degrees back with a deckhand. 1, 2, 3. Right at the time that you step, this hand comes around with a blade hand. I think it's a little easier to see it from the side so you get a good perspective. Focus, attention, drop, shoot out. 1, 2, 3. Arms come up to the front. hand come up this way. As we talked about in Shaolin videos, that momentum that you come, that step is where that arm shoots back as you straighten up, shoot, like that. Okay? But in the beginning, you can just kind of do it step by step. So, beginning version will look more like this. Like that. As soon as this hand comes here, you look to the left. See? I can do it forward now. Also, in the way that the form is structured, you need to do your opening way over on the right, because the first section that happens after is you're walking backwards this way. So in doing the form in a particular area, start off way to the right and just leave a little bit of space for your perimeter right there. So here, attention, empty the mind, drop into the sit, shoot out, 1, 2, 3, here. From this position, you're going to come up into the crane stance, and the sword comes up horizontal, like this. Again, when you come around, and then into the crane, horizontal. Crane, the sword blade is now straight up, and your arm is like this. Think of them like that. If you just kind of practice this position without the sword, may help, so you can see that your arm is structuring the way that the sword is. So this elbow, wrist, in line with the arm like that. You're looking to the left. One more time. And just drop into the sit. Hands come underneath. Shoot out. 1, 2, 3. Hands come forward. Up to the left, crane stance. From here, this is going to be difficult, where you drop down into the falling stance. Like that. Next move, wrap. You're going to like ward off, come in, and shoot with the blade hand forward. So we take it from here. Hand comes around, come up in the crane, blade is horizontal, drop straight down into the falling stance. Ward off, and strike with the blade hand. One note is that as you're from here into the crane stance, as you drop down, you don't drop down straight, because you, again, for the falling stance, you want to have your weight to the inside of this squatting leg. So from here, you're going to drop kind of inside here. Now this is where we can modify it a little bit. If you're a beginner, if you're older, if you have like a inability to fall right into the falling stance from that position, that's understandable. So in that case, you can kind of go as deep as you can into that falling stance, and you do your ward off, come in with a hand underneath, open blade hand, and then changes to a vertical blade hand. So the modified version would look like that. Again, in the beginning, you could do the moves very slow until you kind of get the sequence, and also in the slow part, you're going to work on the timing of each of the moves. So we'll do it slow. So here, attention, then just drop down, shoot out. Sword drops vertical into big hand on the right. Step 1, 2, 3. Stamp. Hand swings forward. Go up into the crane. Right hand goes out. As you do this, you should be looking to the left, but in the beginning, you might find that your balance is better if you're looking forward, so that's fine. And then drop down as far as you can into the falling stance. This is like warding off blocking. Hand comes in. Now here the sword is vertical again by my shoulder. Yeah. I know this is kind of a long opening sequence lesson. I'm trying to take it at one stroke. So again, focus, drop down, shoot out. Step 1, 2, 3. As the hand swings is when you look to the left. Into the crane, drop down, ward off, come through the center, strike. So the sword goes in a semicircle into the vertical. At the same time, the hand is this underneath the arm position by the time you do that, and then strike out. Okay, one more time, more at full speed. Drop down, shoot out. 1, 2, 3. Down, ward off, shoot out. Okay, so from here, you're going to do straight leg kick, turn, and strike out. Again, from the ward off here, kick, step through into the bow stance. So from the kick here, when you come back through the center, the hand comes in through the center as well. Here, blade hand, kick, come through, turn, step forward into bow stance. Sword still vertical. This is a little bit harder to do slow. From the straight leg kick, as you come back down through the center, is when you're going to pivot on the support leg. The kicking foot never comes and actually touches the ground to make your pivot. You kind of use that momentum of the swing, come back through into the bow stance and shoot out. And from here, you can sit into cat and shoot forward. Sword now is horizontal and fists underneath the arm. Okay, one more time from this position. Pointed toe kick, straight leg kick. Turn back into the bow stance, strike out, and sit. Also notice from here, I don't come forward to do the sit, but I change the feet. So I'm in the same position forward and back here, like that. Okay, one more time. the full amount. Focus, drop, shoot out. 1, 2, 3. Swing to the front, crane, drop down into the falling stance. Do the ward off, blade hand. Going to do the kick, turn, bow stance, and then change the feet into the cap. Let me do it from this direction so you can see that last change. Here, when you do the kick, like that. Blade hand comes back into the fist. Again, blade hand, sword vertical, the pointed toe kick, come back to pivot into the bow, strike out, blade hand, and then from here the sword is vertical, and it changes to horizontal, and it changes to a fist. Okay, that might be a lot to take in for one lesson, but that's just the opening. So again, let's do the full speed and then you can see what it looks like. Again, if there's any questions about this, be sure to leave in the comments. Maybe next time we'll take the opening like maybe slower, 2 steps at a time, but I thought that to give you something to work with the Dao, because we haven't got it. The last lesson we got into the wrapping, and you can practice that, and then now you can practice the opening. Okay, from here, attention, drop into the opening stance, shoot out, 1, 2, 3, stamp, hand comes to the front, crane, horizontal sword, falling stance, ward off, blade hand strike, kick, turn, bow stance, blade hand strike, change into the cap, sword vertical, horizontal, and fist. So in this opening salutation, the sword has not got into your sword hand at all. That's the next move. So this is all the opening salutation for presentation of the sword and into the stance in which you will actually begin the actual sword manipulating section of the set of the form. So that's the opening. I know it was a lot to take in for one lesson, but again, a lot of this is under the presumption that you've done the Northern Shaolin. So again, that little from here for somebody who's done Tan Tui and Cha Chuan, then that kick, straight leg kick, turning into the bow stance would just be a normal practice because they've done that in other forms. One of the keys in doing that transition of the kick to the other bow stance is to pivot on the supporting foot, because as you're doing the pivot here, you're only on the supporting foot for the pivot. Pivot on the heel into the bow, not on your toe. The general rule is when you're pivoting back, then heel, you're pivoting away, then toe. That's kind of a general rule for Kung Fu. But that pivot here on one foot could present a little bit of a problem for you in the transition. And again, remember to, from here, the hand, watch my, comes through the center into the blade hand strike, not out like that, okay? So again, here, again, you would be using momentum as much as you can. So the momentum of the kick coming down precipitates pivot of the foot into the bow stance. It's hard to remember all the details in presenting this to people who are not familiar with the Northern Shaolin form, because again, when you come up through the Northern Shaolin and finally learn the Dao, all of this will be already in your repertoire and already in your understanding. So trying to present this video to new viewers and remember all the details. Sometimes things get eliminated because I just take that as a known factor. So as I do these videos, I'm trying to remember to incorporate all these little details that new practitioners might not be aware of. So I hope you're enjoying practicing with the Dao. It's one of my favorite weapons too. All the weapons are my favorites, but I like the Dao. Thank you very much.